Hey everyone, I'm back to taste more chocolate with you from my trip to Amsterdam and Chacoa Chocolate Week. So I wanted to try a really beautiful bar today, the Likkle More from Jamaica. This is made by a chocolate maker named Nadine Burry, and it's got beautiful packaging. You'll see that we're going to taste today the signature Terroir Dark. Terroir is a French term. If you've ever taken a wine tasting class, you may have heard it before. It means a sense of place, and it has to do with the flavor that a food picks up from the area where it's grown. So we'll talk about that more another time, but it's a fancy way of saying the flavors that the chocolate is getting from where it grew. It's a single origin, so all the cacao comes from Jamaica, and it's a 70% cocoa, meaning that 70% of this bar it comes from the cacao and the other 30% is sugar. Okay, so there's a few other things of note on this wrapper. It says it's ethically sourced, but that can mean anything. So if you're interested in ethical sourcing, you really should dive deep and ask the chocolate maker. If they tell, many of them will tell the story on their website. If they don't, then email them, ask them, call them, find out what they mean by ethically sourced. There's many things that can mean. Flavor inspiration by Nadine Burry, that's the chocolate maker. This one is a limited edition botanical blend. I'm not sure exactly what botanical blend refers to. It should be a plain dark chocolate bar, so it may be a blend of beans from different farms. It has a batch number, so we can tell that this bar came from a very specific batch, and if I were to taste another bar made by this maker using the same set of beans, it might taste different if it came from another batch. And then it's got an expiration date, which with dark chocolate, most chocolate makers will put an expiration date on their chocolate. But you can eat it long past its expiration date. I have a bar of chocolate that was made in 2002 that's a famous bar that I'm still holding on to. I haven't tried tasting it yet. It's probably going to be a little bit more brittle, a little less flavor because it's so old, but it's fine to eat. So they will usually put that sell-by date on there, but chocolate's totally fine after that, particularly dark chocolate. Okay, so let's open up the wrapper and give this bar a try. Oh, wow. So here's the bar on the inside. Actually, let me take this out of the plastic. So it's got beautiful sticker. Take this out of its plastic here. Okay, this part requires scissors. Note to chocolate makers, it's great when your packaging does not require scissors. Particularly if someone is out on a hike or doesn't have a pair of scissors handy. Okay, so let me take this bar out of its packaging. Okay. A little artwork going on here. Beautiful bar of chocolate. Okay, I'm going to break off a piece. Remember, we've done some tastings before. We want to use all five senses. So I'm breaking a piece. Since this one has coloring on this side, I'm going to turn it over and look at it. It's nice and shiny. It's not out of temper, which we talked about recently. There's no bloom on it. It's nice and shiny. Ooh, it feels very, very smooth. Okay, I'm going to rub it between my fingers and sniff. I get some chocolatey and maybe some herbaceous notes. Let me break it in half. I want to hear a nice snap sound. Nice snapping. I'm going to smell it again because sometimes that broken area has some nice flavor to it. Yeah, I'm getting something chocolatey and then maybe something sort of herbal, like greenish herbs. But let's try this and see what it tastes like. So I'm getting some acidic and fruity notes, but maybe more tropical fruits. So think like papaya, mango. I need another piece to fully evaluate this one. So I'm getting very light chocolate notes, not like that really heavy chocolate that you think of from West Africa, but light chocolate, maybe some caramel or dairy notes, and then a hint of the tropical fruits. It's a very balanced bar. Has some complexity to it, but it's not, you know, like I'm always looking for what's the most complex bar. Like I love bars that have a lot going on. This one's an incredibly pleasant experience. I would enjoy eating it all afternoon. It's got some complexity to it. It's just very pleasant. Okay, so that was the Likkle More Signature Terroir Dark 70% from Jamaica. It looks like it's a blend of cacao from maybe different parts of Jamaica, different farms. That's my guess based on what it says. It's not telling us what farms, and it just says ethically sourced, so we don't know what that means. But let's try one other. Let's try an inclusion bar. So an inclusion bar is a bar of chocolate that has other ingredients added to it. In this case, it's fresh ginger. I always enjoy trying bars where the ingredients that are added are local. So here you've got, you know, you're in a Caribbean island and they've got fresh ginger. So it's probably going to be fabulous, I hope. Okay, again, it's a wrapper. We need the scissors to open this one. So I'm going to grab my scissors. Oops. Okay, I had to rip a little bit. You know, one thing I didn't really think about, and I don't know if this is intentional or not, but, you know, you see these colors on these bars that Likkle More is doing. See, it's like colors. I don't know if it's meant to mimic the flavor profile. So there's some people, Hazel Lee, for example, does a really fascinating mapping chocolate with thinking about, instead of describing it with words such as fruity or acidic or strawberries or raspberries or mangoes, where you're using color to describe the flavor. And I'm wondering if that was meant to, because, you know, when I taste the flavor of this bar, it kind of reminds me of these colors. So maybe that's what it's meant to be, but I don't know. And then when I look at this ginger bar that we're about to taste, you know, these colors kind of make me think of ginger a little bit, but we'll see. I don't know if that's intentional. So this one I'm going to break and sniff, but it is an inclusion bar, which usually have pieces of, in this case, ginger in it. So if it has pieces, you're going to have to chew, and it's okay to chew when you're tasting an inclusion bar. It's interesting. The aroma of this chocolate reminds me a little bit more of what I'd call a Belgian chocolate, where it's just kind of a sweet chocolate. Okay, can't really smell the ginger. Let's taste it. Mmm. Wow. Mmm. Amazing fresh ginger flavor. You know, it's interesting. A chocolatier who, again, is working with chocolate, but they're starting with chocolate. That's their beginning product. Versus a chocolate maker starting with raw cacao beans. So a chocolatier, when they're adding an inclusion ingredient like this, like ginger, you'll usually have chunks of the ginger in there because there's really no way to avoid that. Or if they're putting in ginger, ground ginger, for example, you're still probably going to taste some of that ground texture. But a chocolate maker, the advantage they have is when they're refining the cacao to turn it into chocolate, they're refining it down to a certain texture or a certain molecule size so that your tongue can no longer taste the texture. I believe it's 18 microns or lower is when you start to get really creamy texture. But the benefit they have is because they have the machinery and they're refining the chocolate, they can throw these inclusion ingredients into the machine when it's refining, and they can also work down the texture of the ingredients. So they have that advantage because they can refine the ingredient that's with the chocolate to the point where you can no longer taste the texture of it. And that feels like what's happened here, because I'm getting a lot of really amazing ginger flavor, but it's not gritty and there's nothing chunky in there. Mm. Mm. Well, ginger and chocolate One of my favorite inclusions, although I have many. So again, Likkle More Chocolate in Jamaica. Nadine Burry, the chocolate maker, talented female chocolate maker. Very enjoyable. All right, until our next bar, I'll see you later.